Thank you for tuning in to the Untouchable Jessica Joan podcast. I'm Jessica Joan, and this is the safe space where we talk about the real stuff that no one's really talking about. So we're going to be diving into courage, clarity, and getting over shit. Because I know you got shit, we all got shit, and we need to get over it. So thank you for joining me on this ride. Here we go. This is why I moved to Albany. Plane rides and catching feelings. Leaving Albany. Returning home. Coming to LA. Leaving home. It's all a shaky current of internal confusion. My guts are scared. My heart happy. My mind sad. My ego a bit mad. Like teen angst, but much more weighted. Tears stream down my face. Realizing the commitment I've made, to say bye to my life I once knew, and hello to all the parts I've been hiding, hurting, unknowingly rejecting. It's all unfolding. The truth. I've been dying inside. Barely breathing, searching for meaning. I lost myself. I tried to kill her off. I felt deep, too deep. So deep that my heartache nearly killed me. Mommy, where are you? On repeat, playing in the depths of my mind, gnawing at my insides. You'd never know, I hid it too well. My smile is quite clever, even I've fooled myself. Beneath the skin and bones, an endless well is crying so hard I lose my breath. You're going to be okay. A demonstration of my repression. That was my mantra. It's how I survived. But what's in survival? I severed my ability to feel those deep, deep feelings. I died inside while smiling outside. A walking cadaver. But my soul kept searching. Sitting in silence, 10 days later. A little better, but still far from self. Chocolate mushrooms. Lots of giggles and conversations with trees. A little closer, but still a lie. It took a flight out east and a wise man asking me, am I the master of my life, or is my life the master of me? Led to my truth, the truth that I am in pain, that fame and applause will never heal the cause. That's the reality, and acceptance is the remedy. So now, I find myself flying back east to keep sitting with this feeling, 'cause I feel deep, so deep, and feeling this deep is all I've ever wanted. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Untouchable Jessica Joan podcast. Today, we are jumping into Lesson 8. There is no such thing as mistakes, only lessons. And this has been the epitome of my life. I think that sometimes in life we feel like we need to do things a certain way, like we set out a path, like a white picket fence or going to college or whatever our parents tell us to do, right? We feel like if we don't do this thing a certain way, we've failed or something's wrong. Or even in relationships, it's like, I dated this terrible guy and such a big mistake. And that's actually this mistake right there. The mistake right there is when we live with regret. Of course, it's not like I haven't done things where I regret doing it or wish I would have done something different. But there's a saying that if I would have known better, I would have done better. And I think that it's so important for us to be kinder to ourselves and not beat ourselves up about certain things. And, there's lessons that we're meant to learn. So there really isn't a mistake if you're willing and able to see the lesson in it. Because the thing is, the universe is always going to keep giving us these lessons, even if it's in a relationship with someone, they're going to give you another person who's literally that same archetype, but that same lesson until you learn it. So when we call it a mistake, we're missing an opportunity to see something and elevate and grow. So, for instance, I could have easily said, oh, my mom, she made so many mistakes. And don't get me wrong, I've said that many a times. I've definitely victimized myself over my whole relationship with my mom for a lot of my life. And, it didn't serve me. But at the same time, that was the medicine and the feelings that I needed to feel in that moment and in those many moments. But now, in this space where I've healed these wounds, where I've forgiven her many, many times, and have forgiven myself for this experience, it's allowed me to really see the gift of that lesson. Because I play this in my head. I do a skip it theory. That was my friend O'Fair's, where I play out a situation, like, what if I do it this way? What would happen? And then so, to avoid doing something or a mistake, quote unquote. And really that's a way to see the lesson and not have to experience it again. But anyways, with my mom, I would think, oh, what if she did have it together? What if my parents, stayed married and were happy and all these things? And I picture what that version of my life would be. And I mean, it's great, it's happy in this alternate universe. But at the same time, I wouldn't be me. The me that's talking to you right now, the me that can relate to so many different people that have experienced so many different kinds of pain and trauma. Like, I wouldn't be that. I wouldn't have the same character that I have. And so I'm actually grateful that my mom had to learn these lessons, and she's still in her karmic cycle of learning them. But because of her doing these mistakes, right, it's allowed me to be who I am and have the ability to be able to speak on these things. And so, there's a lot of different things like I could have done. And, I'm Filipino. I'm mixed with a bunch of other things, but mainly Filipino. And my dad used to always get on my case. I mean, he, still would probably prefer that I just went to college and became a nurse. And, wish that I would follow a traditional path and just go to school and get a job, as he'd say. But I just knew that wasn't the path for me. But it's not like I don't think about it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, there are times where he would get in my head, and I'm like, man, should I have just done that? Would it have been easier? And it's not. And I chose a different path, which is the lessons. And was it really hard in a lot of ways? That maybe would have been harder than just doing a more traditional path? Yeah. Would I probably have a different situation with my savings account if I didn't take all these risks and do all these things? Yeah. But the thing is, my path is my path. My lessons are my lessons. That wasn't for me, and that's okay. And so it's not a mistake, and that's why, I try to do my best to live from a place of not regret and to find the silver lining. Find the thing that I needed to learn, to understand, to deepen my relationship with myself, with my love for myself, with my love for humanity. Oh man, I have some funny stories. So, okay, I'm going to share this one. Not a lot of people know this. So, I got into an accident as a pedestrian, and I got hit by a car. And this is all during the time that I'm working with the FBI and the NXIVM case, literally one of the most stressful, hardest, challenging, low parts of my life, especially having lived this life in Hawaii and healed and softer, and then coming back to LA, not having any money, not being in the energetic space to do the work that I used to do, and just trying to get back on my feet. And so, get back on my feet, haha. And what ends up happening is is I get hit by a car. I'm going to dive into that a little bit more in a different episode. But, I mean, you could just only imagine how devastating that was. So after having been hit by a car, now the way that I would normally make money through modeling and, commercial work and things of that nature, now that's off the table. Now I'm injured for the first time ever, my first injury, and I get this job. My friend, tells me that there's an opening at this very prestigious rooftop, top 1% restaurant position where like these servers are making a lot of money. And I had vowed to not work somewhere, not that I have anything against this and there's no judgment, but anywhere where I have to wear a button-up long sleeve and slacks. I just was like, I can't do it. like it's so unconventional for me. Like it would literally make my skin feel like it's itching. But anyways, when you're injured like that and you don't really have any options and you don't have any money and the universe is teaching me a lesson, very hard one that I had to go through, I just had to deal. So I was like, okay, I got this job at this fancy place and I couldn't use all of my normal tactics of, I could use my personality, but I wasn't just dressed cute and making money that way, which sounds really funny, but that's the reality of the game that I was in. So anyways, some of these people were amazing, super generous angels, but those were a little bit more few and far between. It was a certain clientele that was very particular and very needed full attention from me. And I remember just being so frustrated, like literally my knee is hurting, I'm wearing a brace, I'm running around, I'm stressed out, these like 10-hour days in the outfit that I vowed to never wear. And I was just like, God, what do I need to learn here? Like what is this? I need to be humbled. Like what is the lesson here? Because I was not happy. So I just tried to figure it out. Okay, what can I gain out of this situation? Where is the gem in this? Where can this help me elevate? And what I realized is that Spirit had put me in this situation so I can be amongst these people that were not maybe my first choice to want to spend my time with. And not only that, have to be of service to with a smile and give this love. And I realized, wait a minute, if I want to help the world, if I want to make a difference, if my whole thing is to impact humanity, I can't pick and choose who I'm going to help because we're all connected. And that's when it hit me, oh my God, all these people are also my brothers and sisters. Spirit is asking me, like, oh, you really want to help the world? You really want to do that? Here are some brothers and sisters for you. Now how you're going to show up. So that was the lesson for me there, to really honor this purpose and to really see myself rise above this thing and rise above like the human drama of whatever I was going through or the projection I was placing on them or vice versa, to really come from a place of spirit, and I call this like seeing God in other people's eyes, like me getting to this space, which has happened, and quite a few times in my life where I can do that. And I was like, wow, that was crazy because, everyone else is complaining about them, understandably so. But through that experience, it wasn't a mistake that I got that job. It was a lesson and a blessing because that allowed me to elevate my own humanity, my own care, and really to, put my money where my mouth is. You got to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And that's one of my lessons in that experience. And, there's a big one. As we already know, or I'm assuming you do know, that I was in the whole NXIVM experience. And, that was a really hard story to tell while I was in it and as it was first happening. Because not only is it really hard to explain, and I'd literally have to sit someone down, tell them to prepare themselves, and, carve out at least an hour, and that's me being quick about telling the story. But there's so many different reactions that I would get. A lot of them were very empathetic, or I would say sympathetic, and just like, oh my God, that's so crazy. I'm so glad you're okay. And it's very sweet. Of course, I'm glad that they're thinking about my well-being, and I could just see it on their face. Like, they're just in shock. They don't know what's going on. So that's one reaction. Then there's another reaction where they're just like dumbfounded, like can't even say this weight is just so heavy. They like don't even really want to talk about it anymore. Or the third one, which was, oh wow, didn't you see the red flags? Like, couldn't you tell that something was wrong? Oh, I would never get in this situation. Like you couldn't tell? Ugh, oh my gosh, talk about a fun one to hear, right? You're literally sharing this personal story and digging deep and being vulnerable, and then you have someone like judging it as if they would know better and that they would have done something different, which is not the case. Okay, maybe if they're super cynical and just super closed-minded, yeah, they would never end up in that situation, but it's so nuanced. So, anyone could look at that like that was a mistake. Even for me, I mean, oh my God, that was so embarrassing, like beyond. Especially when I got that special assignment, it was literally like a shotgun to my ego. And I can't even explain it right now, like the level of feeling, what the fuck did I just do? And not only that, because it was also such a cliche, but thinking of all of my friends that knew I was about this and trying to even get them to take a course, or my dad who thought I was in humanitarian college in Albany. And it was just like, wow, okay. And then, of course, this is a whole huge public case that's been all over the news. So even now telling people, which, I love my story. I love my experience. I know this was a divinely guided lesson and blessing, and really me fulfilling my purpose, an initiation in fulfilling my purpose. But what was the lesson there? What did I need to learn? Oh man, what did I need to learn? I needed to learn discernment. That is such a pivotal, important, I don't know if virtue is the right word, but that is an important lesson for anyone and everyone to have, because I was operating from this good-hearted, good-natured place, which is beautiful, and I'll never change that about myself. And thank goodness I had an awareness of the evils that exist in the world to not end up in the same position as a lot of, incredible people did, and like really, really burned from the situation. But discernment, I needed to learn that because I kept repeating that. Just, and this also even relates to my relationship with my mother, who, God bless her, but she's a narcissist. And so with her being a narcissist and her telling me as a child that she's going to change, she's going to come back into my life, she's going to do all these things, and my little innocent little Jess heart is like, okay, and believing her, even though time after time after time, she just literally did the opposite. And so what was happening with that pattern that I had developed is that then I'm attracting relationships with men like that, or even friendships like that, where I'm being taken advantage of and I'm not seeing it because I'm not having the discernment, because I'm coming from a good place. And so just like the NXIVM ESP course, I was, led by my heart and my belief in that people are good and thinking this is going to help me and seeking to better myself. But there were some things that I didn't see because I didn't have the discernment. So was that a mistake? Absolutely fucking not. That was a divine, huge lesson that I needed to learn, that's like playing out publicly so other people can understand how important discernment is. And thank God I learned that, so I don't need to repeat these same things over and over. Doesn't mean I'm not going to get tested and I might swim a little too close to like the deep end, but now I have that experience. Now as I walk forward in life, that's going to be something that, like, that's not going to, get me off where I need to go, and I can keep living in my purpose. And so my call to action and invitation for all of you beautiful beings is I want you to reflect on something that maybe you felt stupid about, felt like it was a mistake, something that's like still gnawing at your insides. Like it might even be something super silly, like I know a lot of Libras do this, and I definitely do this. And if I say something weird to someone, like a stranger, and it like burns in my brain for like forever. Like, oh my God, why did I say that? That was so stupid. Like, oh my God, I sound like a weirdo. It could be something as simple as that. But I want you to look at this mistake and see where you can find the lesson. Because why did you say that? Why did that happen? Why did you attract that? This goes back to also to personal responsibility, because only when you take 100% responsibility for your life can you be masterful at your life. Otherwise, you're just letting life steer you. So that is all for today. Thank you, beautiful people. I will catch you real soon. Thank you again for tuning in. It means the world to me. And if you enjoyed this podcast and this episode, it would be so helpful if you subscribe, like, or comment. And this will allow this podcast to grow and for it to reach as many people as it can. So thank you again so much.